So, Stacey, first of all, thank you. This is probably
Absolutely.
a very exciting thing for me to do because you have such a phenomenal story of your past, how you got to
Mhm.
Alliance Financial Group, and just the success that you've had. So, why don't you kind of kick us off by talking about like what you were doing before, how you got here, and sort of how that's sort of changed uh, your life.
All right. So, really crazy backstory. I never thought I would be in financial services ever, ever, ever. So, spent the first 25 years of my adult career as a television news anchor all across the country, several different states, and ended up here in the Fort Myers, Naples area back in 2003. Did that for 12 years and, had a baby at 40, was married, and I just thought, okay, well, it's time to start looking at something else, right? And I went into PR, hated it.
Mm.
I didn't really enjoy, kind of writing whatever company wanted, the company line. And there was an advisor who came to me and said, "Why don't you come work with us?" And I thought, "What do I know about financial services?" Um, and the funny story is when I went to my husband and I said, I think I'm going to do this. His first reaction is, "Do they know you're not good at math?" But it's not about math, and that's the interesting thing, when this person came to me and started asking me about, working at Alliance Financial, it was really about talking to people
Mhm.
about tough subjects, right? I mean, retirement, death, disability, planning for things that are unexpected, planning for good things, right? Money's emotional.
Mhm.
It's not really the math of it. And although I'm fine at math, by the way,
Right.
I can count dollars. And we're not doing division longhand.
Well, and you shared a story with us when we first met about your mom
Yeah.
and just some of the history around that. So, if you
Yeah,
would,
it's something I share with a lot of clients because I need them to know that I've walked in some of these shoes, and that's why I say things I do. So before I got into this industry, I was, 8.5 months pregnant, and my dad had a massive heart attack Thanksgiving weekend at my house, and it changed everything, right? I watched my mom. He was only 66. My mom was 64. So they were entrepreneurs. They had their own business. They didn't do a lot of great planning. My mom even says to me, one of the things she did was they had canceled a life insurance policy. Ironically, I guess not ironic, but a few years before that because it started to get very expensive, and she said that was the dumbest thing she ever did. And she goes, "I did a lot of dumb things, but it wasn't even a huge policy. It was like $250,000." She said, but at 64, it would have allowed her a little bit of breathing time.
Mhm.
I mean, the mortgage still has to get paid. The electric bill still has, this whole notion that your bills get cut in half because one
Right.
of the partners is not there in a
Mhm.
marriage is not
Right.
true.
So, how much of the passion around what you do now with your clients is driven by the story of how your mom had to sort of overcome?
I would say a lot, even down to things that we don't do. I mean, I make sure my clients have their legal documents, right? Because my mom had to make a decision. They'd been married for 30 something years, and they said, he was laying in there on breathing tubes and
Mhm.
everything. And they said, "What do you want to do?" And she said, "Leave him." And I said, "That's not your decision to make because it was already in his directive to not keep him alive." And I watched my mom's face completely change, just like this, like, oh, I didn't have to say it out loud. And so I really share a lot of those things with clients, the trials and tribulations my mom had to walk, the legal document part of it. I mean, these are things that we don't want to talk about on Saturday night on date
Mhm.
night, but it's important. I'm not afraid to have the hard conversations, and I'm not afraid to call BS on the clients when
Right.
they
Right.
say, "Oh, she'll go out and get a job or she'll be fine." No, you're grieving like a complete loss of your last chapter, and you have to walk a new
Mhm.
chapter. So it's super scary, and no one just goes out, 2 weeks later and finds a job to recreate this. It does not work like that.
Right. So you use the phrase super scary, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you leave a work environment, right, as an anchor and then
Mm-hmm.
PR and now all of a sudden you find yourself in an entrepreneurial
Yeah.
wealth management space. Like, how scary was that for you? What are some of the things that you might do differently? As we bring in new, younger talent, like what are some of the things that you'd say, "Hey, I struggled here," or
Yeah.
"This was a great success." Tell me a little bit
I
about
I
that.
would say there are a couple of just key ingredients, right? I mean, I'm not afraid to talk to people. So if that's something that I enjoyed, I think people are fascinating, right? I mean, we're all different. We all come with our own different like thoughts and money baggage and experiences. So if you're not afraid to talk to people, that's a huge success because you really have to get personal with your clients. You have to be able to get in there and let them know you're on their page, right? Like I'm here for you. Um, it was scary, but I think I could always bet on myself,
Mm.
right? I'm of that mindset. If I study hard enough, if I pay attention enough, I mean, in news, you're constantly learning about some different topic every day, and you have to boil it down and disseminate it to
Right.
somebody. I mean, that's kind of what we do. So it it was scary on the compensation side, right? Like I was always a W-2. I always knew how much money I was going to make, and so that was scary. But I also hard work doesn't scare me. I like to work. I'm a little bit of a
Hmm.
type A,
Little
just a
bit,
little bit.
little bit,
And
tiny,
so
tiny.
I'm goal oriented, which I think helps my clients because I'm always trying to move the ball forward for
Right.
them, right? Because they're getting life gets in the way for them.
One thing you might do differently.
I don't know that.
Okay.
I think I was very, very fortunate, and I would say this to anybody in any field. When I got into TV, I did an internship. When I came into this field, I basically had mentors. Like I shadowed people all the time. I'm not afraid to say, "Hey, you're really good at this.
Hmm.
Can we sit and talk? Can I pick your brain? Can I?" So I don't know. I think that's a secret to success. I don't know that I would have. I'm super happy with where
Okay.
I am.
So, I mean, I think of you as like an overnight success story,
Ugh,
right?
an
How long have you
overnight.
been with us?
I think I'm in my ninth
Ninth year,
year.
ninth, 10th year,
Yeah,
right? And
overnight.
time has gone by so
It
fast, it
really
feels
has.
like a day, you know?
Yes.
And so from a client perspective, right? Because the things that we do have meaningful impact on the people that we serve on a daily basis. So share some of the, successes or, from your perspective, where you've had a major impact on, the people that you've come in contact with.
I think that because I'm not afraid to delve into things, I've taken over AUM from other advisors for clients because they weren't allocated correctly. They came to me maybe for a product or for a service, and when I delved deeper, you know, no one was asking them about
Mhm.
their social security statements because they don't get paid on those. No one was asking them how are they allocated. No one. So I love doing that, right? Like, let's make sure you're where you should
Mhm.
be, right? I think there are a lot of advisors out there. There's nothing wrong with them gathering AUM, but they're babysitting money. I don't sit on a ton of AUM just babysitting it,
Right.
right? To me, there's got to be a plan for the
Mhm.
money. Otherwise, what was the point in having the pocket,
Mhm.
the bucket? So I'm constantly looking for distribution strategies for my clients. That's how they win, right? So you have a bucket. What's it going to do for you? Are you
Right.
going to get income from it? And people don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Um, we've worked on, helping someone sell their business that they didn't know that they could sell and how to sell it. I always say to my clients, my job is for you to win. What does that mean? That's for me to figure out.
So if you were going to encourage a new person come into this business, what would you say are the main rewards that they can achieve by being an entrepreneur in this field?
So, interestingly enough, as you know, I brought in my former
Mhm.
weatherman, Scott Zedeker.
That's right.
I did. I brought him in because when he was going through the kind of how the typical way you leave the business, they give you a bad contract and they say take it or leave it, and he was going to go do something else. And I said, Scott, like, come do something that people
Mhm.
need. He goes, people still need this. Like everyone, and I think that's the beauty of the reward is I am not providing a service that only a few people need. Every single person needs
Mhm.
some form of what we do, right? They need some form of retirement strategy or planning.
A career in financial services is about freedom and relationships, both for you and the clients you serve. By building intentional, authentic connections with people, we not only create an environment where advisors can succeed, but also puts you in control of your future. Financial success looks different to everyone, and it's more about the process than the numbers. If you are someone that is looking to make a difference in your life and the people closest to you, go to the website below and schedule a conversation today. Back to the podcast.
Everyone I meet and that's out there, whether they have $100,000 or $100 million, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. They need what we do. So the reward for me is, while I would say financial is, listen, I'm not
Mhm.
here, I'm not doing it for free. I'm not charity, but the rewards are great financially because there's no cap, right? In TV, I used to laugh when we would have hurricane
Right.
coverage, and
Yep.
my
Yep.
dad would say to me years ago, "So when you're there sleeping on the floor of the station, do you get extra money?" I go, "No, there's no extra involved."
And we're
Suddenly,
not sleeping on the floor.
no, and suddenly my daily rate drops.
Right.
The more I work, the more I can make. That is a reward, but as corny as it sounds, some of the reward is just when a client says to me, "Oh my gosh, thank you.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
I understand this," or "Thank you. I didn't know what I was going to do," or "Oh, we're going to
Mhm.
be okay." That's rewarding, or
Right.
you're the
Yeah.
best.
Well, so
Yeah.
let's talk about that for a second, because obviously you've had success, phenomenal success. This past year was like a highlight year, and
Yeah.
you mentioned Scott Zedeker,
Yeah.
right, from Wink,
Formerly
Brian,
from Wink.
formerly of Wink, Brian Simon,
Formerly of Wink.
formerly of Wink, sportscaster.
Right.
I have a background in theater and film. Like, what is it about those types of industries where you can come into this and, through hard work, obviously, and dedication, but continue to have success? Like, is there something that you see about
Yeah.
that type of field
I,
that
I
allows
think
us?
I think outgoing, right? You got to be a little bit of
Hmm.
a people person. You can't be scared to talk to people. I mean, I'd go up to strangers at a restaurant. I don't care, because no one is ever going to be worse off, as long as they're like not with a bad advisor, but no one's ever going to be worse off for meeting us.
Right.
Right. I mean, you meet a good advisor, and there's plenty of good advisors. I mean, I know we always like hear on the TV about some bad ones. They're always bad in any field, but you're not going to be worse off. You'd be worse off by trying to do this
Hmm.
yourself, because money's so emotional, right? Because the math isn't math when you're doing it for yourself,
Right.
right? Even
Okay.
even
Sure.
when I do my own, I come to you, or I'll sit with my coaches or Longo, and because you have to run it past somebody else who's not in it. I don't believe that handling your own retirement funds is the best thing, because it's such an emotional feeling. So, yeah,
How do you coach people to communicate? Because I think so much of this industry is our ability to communicate a message, be really good listeners, active listening, as opposed to just, hey, I'm going to listen
with
to,
the
like,
intent to
yeah, right.
respond. Yeah.
So that's a great, I think it's a Stephen Covey quote: listen with the intent to understand, not the
Hmm.
intent to respond. Um, so obviously listening is critical, but then the ability to communicate a message in an impactful and powerful way. So did somebody train you on that? Did you have, as you're getting into news anchor, like, you're communicating these stories in a way that invites or allows people to invite you into their living room every night? And it's the same thing here. We're communicating stories. We're communicating a value proposition for what we're doing. So did you have any training on that before you got into
Yeah, I
that?
mean, in some ways, I would say, Jerry, that would be true. Listen, I mean, I got into the business. I'm not that young, so I was in my 20s. You're talking back in the 90s, and
Shh.
I
No
know.
one knows. No one needs to know.
I'm like a fine wine,
Right.
but I would say to you that it was never about you. You were never supposed to, even in crosstalk, refer to yourself. It was never about I went to the store.
Right.
It's so. I think communicating to people, it's not my money. It's not what I want to do. It's how do I help you and stay focused on the you
Right.
part.
Right.
So I would say some of it's been a little bit trained, and I think
Okay.
some of it is just, if you know that everybody needs guidance,
Hmm.
you're there to listen. I mean, if I don't listen to what they tell me is important, yes, there are certain things that we know as advisors we need to hit on, because that just
Hmm.
makes a good plan. I still have to hear what they think.
Right.
I want to know what their plan would have been if they didn't meet me.
So one of the things is I've seen sort of a change in your practice is, for the first many years. I mean, I'll say, let's say the first 5 years or so, we refer to as the rainmaker, right? Like, people
Yeah,
just naturally gravitate to you. You'd set them in, you get them in. And that was what you loved to do.
I
And
do.
there was probably less of the, I want to be the one to do the actual, like, planning.
Yeah.
And now I've seen that not only are you still a great rainmaker, but you really like to be involved and actually start to tell clients, like, here's what you should do and why. So have you felt that change in your own
I do.
practice? And like, maybe what
I
got you
do.
to to move from just feeling comfortable with a rainmaker to now actually implementing?
Time, education, you don't go from one career that you've done 25 years in and to a new one and feel like you're a master at it,
Mhm.
right? I still feel like I'm a student,
Okay.
but I would say to you, I have many licenses. That helps, as you move through time and you get your different series license or a designation, and
Mhm.
your education level just keeps growing and growing. And to be honest with you, I didn't believe early on when people would say, "Oh, you'll hear all the same objections."
Right.
9 years later,
You
you
hear all
hear
the
all the
same
same
of it.
objections.
Yeah.
So some of it's just I had to see that for myself,
Okay.
right? Because I was always like I wanted to be prepared for, well, what are they going to ask me? How
Right.
are they going to, what's going to be the problem?
Mhm.
And again, it doesn't matter if you make 100,000 or 100 million. The problems are pretty the same. I mean, to different levels, but their underlying currents are very similar.
Sure. So you're also really good at coaching and mentoring younger people in the business.
I don't know. I think I'm a little tough love.
I think sometimes that's needed, right? Like if you look at Mike and I, right, there's a very different,
Very.
um, I'd say, pathway to coaching and mentoring, and we talked about that on a prior sort of podcast that we were doing. Was I like to be like, here's what you gotta do, here's why, get it done, very much like you. Where Mike is much more of the, okay, well, let me understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and
Right.
maybe I can help you, see through it. And that's a great skill that he has. So you're mentoring somebody now, Nick, who's a great addition to your team.
Yeah.
Kind of tell me about how that's been going, and what you see for his career and his future, and why it's so important to sort of mentor the next generation.
I think first of all, he's such an asset to my team. My clients love him. He's super smart. He's a great listener. He's self motivated. So he didn't always ask me to find the answer.
Okay.
Here's the problem. And he would take it upon himself, which I think is a little bit of like myself, like I'm going to figure it out. I think that's super important. I'm a little tough love,
Okay.
like we're not going to whine about why things are tough. You got to do things. You have to, you can only control yourself. I can't control what the client's going to do, even if they think my plan is great. Sometimes they still don't move forward.
Right.
I can't want it for the client more than the client wants it. If the client's in, I'm 100% in. But if they don't want to do it, I'm at the point where I can't push too
Right.
hard. I
Yep.
mean, it's their life, not mine.
Yeah, I've always used the phrase, it has to be more important to them
And
than it is to us.
Yeah.
And
And
at the
that's
same
hard because
time,
you get invested.
yeah, well, and we also have
Yeah.
a massive responsibility to have it
Yes.
be important to us, because their financial lives and their families depend on us doing a good job.
It's funny because I have a couple of clients that are very, very good friends. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, I lay awake at night making sure that everything I've done for you is exactly what, way more than I worry about my own stuff, because it can't be wrong.
Right.
You cannot get this wrong.
Well, and it seems to be a hesitancy for people to want to do planning with their family and friends, and like the initial, um, and I sort of feel the same way you do. Like for my family and friends, boy, if something were to happen to any one of them and I hadn't done their planning, or at least given them the opportunity, I'd feel horrible that I let that opportunity go for the people that you care about most. And it's like, wow, you know, I'll talk to strangers and get their planning done long before I talk to my closest friends that we do life together with.
One of my very, very good friends wants to retire kind of, in my opinion, early. And I've made it very clear, almost like ad nauseum, how I do not think that this is the right thing to do.
Right.
No one should be retiring at 60, in my opinion. I mean, the amount of money you have to retire at 60 when you could easily live 30 more years with all kinds of things that we don't know are going to happen, right? We don't know what kind of things are going to be developed that we'll have to have in our lives that we can't account for accounting wise, money wise right now. So it makes me very nervous. So I made this very clear to this person that I will support you, but that I do not believe mathematically this is the best option.
Right.
So, and the person keeps saying, I know.
And they're like, I know.
I hear you. I'm
I
like,
love
I just
you,
have
I
to
love
make
you, Stace,
I
but
love you.
I'm going to retire anyway.
I just need to make it clear that,
Yeah.
it's not that I don't want this person to be happy and do what they want. I just.
Yeah. So we'll kind of finish here, but I have one last question, right? So this was your best year ever.
Last year was.
Yes,
2024
was your best year ever.
Hoping 2025 is too.
Guardian's President's Council producer.
Yes.
Top, let's say 2 or 3% within the country, in what
And
we
really
do.
women wise.
Yeah, exactly. probably one top.
one or two. Yeah.
So what's in store for 2025 and beyond?
Just keep building. I want to, I mean, personally, I'd like to achieve the same things I've achieved, if not more. I'm pretty goal oriented, both for my clients and myself. I'd like to make President's Council again, because it also validates me to know that I'm doing enough for my clients and meeting enough people. I love the fact that it allows me to work with people I enjoy. Right.
Yeah.
So I really do, I don't want to say I weed people out, but I mean, when I work with people that once I've talked to them, there's a connection.
Right.
I'm excited because after we put things in place, we're going to meet, we're going to talk, it's going to be a long relationship. So I want them to enjoy me just as much as I enjoy them.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have to be best friends, but I just want it to be a great ongoing relationship where they feel confident, comfortable, and content about what we're doing every time.
Yeah.
So I hope that 2025 brings all good things for my clients and myself.
Well, it has been a phenomenal journey to watch. I've enjoyed.
We're not done yet.
Well, we're definitely not done. But I've enjoyed watching you come be part of the team, the trajectory of your business, and how you've just exploded on the scene in this community and the things you do for your clients. So, I mean, it's just been a lot of fun watching that happen. And we enjoy that. We enjoy seeing people really take their careers to the next level. For their family, for their clients. And so I'm excited for 2025 and beyond. And I'm sure we'll be sitting here again having conversations about how you achieve President's Council for the 10th time in a row. So
I look forward to that.
I'm going to throw that out there into the ethos to see.
I would just like to say that I feel very, very fortunate to be a part of an agency that really cares about its people. I've met with other advisors across the country, and I feel like we're very blessed and lucky to have, general agents who care about us as people as well as advisors. I think this is a very nurturing company. I wouldn't, I've been asked to go other places, and I couldn't imagine making anything else home but Guardian, Park Adams Securities, and AFG, because I think it's just been, it allows me to really become what I want to become, and I'm not put in a hole.
Yeah.
I'm not put in a box, just like we don't put our clients in a box, right? We're not trying to fit them in at something. So I feel like
you're a key part
that.
of the culture, and we appreciate that. So thank you very much for your time. This has been a fun time for me too.
This podcast is intended for general public use and is for informational purposes only. By providing this content, Park Avenue Securities LLC and our financial representatives are not undertaking to provide investment advice or make a recommendation for a specific individual or situation, or to otherwise act in fiduciary capacity. Stacey and Jerry are registered representatives and financial advisors of Park Avenue Securities LLC, PAS OSJ 14021 Metropolis Ave, Fort Myers, Florida 33912 239-561-2900. Securities, products, and advisory services offered through PAS member FINRA SIPC. Stacey is financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, NY. Jerry is a general agent of Guardian. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Alliance Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. Stacey's AR insurance license 1777185. CA insurance license 4100687. 7974411.1 expires 527.